Hi, my name is Ryan Chwansky, and thanks for joining me on a special series of interviews right here on the Bluffton Buzz. Election season is upon us. We have folks running for mayor and town council. This is a special series of just interviewing these people. I realize that as I know some names, I don't really know who these people are, and I just don't want to vote off of names or what I've heard. And if I feel this way, there's got to be a lot of folks that just recently moved to Bluffton that have no idea who these people are either, or a deeper understanding of them. So that's the whole purpose of this series of interviews, is for you to learn with me as we go through and talk to each one of these folks. Today, Larry Toomer joins me. He has been in the town council for 10 years, and he is now running for mayor. Also, big thanks to the Bluffton Chamber of Commerce. I reached out and asked if we could partner up to help get this word out. They thought it was a great idea. So what they did was they're going to take these videos and shoot them out to all the great business owners that are part of the Greater Bluffton Chamber of Commerce, just so we can get more eyes on this. Again, the whole idea is we implore you to get out and vote now or on November 7th. Early voting has already started, so you have no excuse. Get over there and vote now. Please watch these videos and make sure you join us on the Bluffton Buzz for more great interviews. Let's jump into the interview with Larry. Larry, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. So, hey, this is an amazing backdrop. I've asked everybody to take me to the place that means something to you, and it has been incredible. JC, have we not been to some of the best spots so far? Yeah. We just had Squat and Gobble. We were over at Bridget's cousin's restaurant.
Right.
And now we're here at your operation. Absolutely beautiful. Right. So let's start from the beginning, Larry. Where are you originally from?
I was actually born on the road, believe it or not, in Texas,
Okay.
but I was only there for 4 days.
Okay.
So Hilton Head is where I grew up. My birth certificate says Texas, but
Okay.
my dad had a problem with a shrimp boat over there, and that's where I was ready to get out. So
you weren't literally born on the road, but you were born in transfer to.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's
all right.
what I'm
I got to ask.
Yeah, that's fine.
An interesting lineup there.
Yeah. And I've been grew up on Hilton Head until the
Okay.
time I was 15, and then I moved to Bluffton.
So you're a local.
Yeah.
What stands out? I mean, kind of a loaded question for somebody that that does what you do, and everybody kind of knows who you are to an extent. You know, you own the oyster factory.
Sure.
You have Toomer's restaurant. Do you have any other operations that
No.
you run? Okay.
No.
So I mean, people kind of know of you, but what to Bluffton really stands out about you? What has kept you here besides the business?
Well, you hear the old saying from people for years, there's no place like home.
Mm.
I travel around a little bit, here and there, down to Florida and down to Texas and chasing shrimp. And there is no place like home. This is where I started the first grade. This is where I graduated from. This is all my childhood friends. This is the waters that I started learning when I was 8 years old, when I started going out in a boat by myself. This is home. There's no place like home.
Amen. Has this always been your career?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about your family life. What's that like?
My family life,
Yes,
my
sir.
current family life, I'm married to my wife, Tina. Christmas Eve will be 35 years.
Okay.
We have 5 kids, 2 boys and 3 girls, from 43 to 31.
Okay.
All of them live here, except for my one son who was in the Marine Corps, and he's working for the Army Corps of Engineers to keep his federal job and retirement intact.
Amen.
All of my grandkids are here. Well, I have 15 grandkids. All of them are here except for 2. I get to see them every day, pretty much every day. I get to take them to school, pick them up from school, take them to daycare, all that. I have grandkids in 6 different schools here in Bluffton. So I'm very active in their life, and they are the reason that I do what I do. It's not for me. I just want my kids and grandkids and future generations to have the very God-given beauty and resources that I've been able to enjoy all of my life.
Yeah, I like that. So you're very involved with your family. You've been doing town council now for 8 years.
10.
10 years, excuse
Yep.
me. Why did you get involved with the town council when you did? What keeps you in it? Why you serve your family the way you do, and clearly you want to serve the people. Tell me a little more about that.
Right. Well, I'll go to the beginning. I wanted to give back. Once my girls got out of my coaching range, so to speak, and graduated from high school and all that, that's what I did for 7 or 8 years. When they were growing up, coaching softball here in Bluffton. I wanted to give back to the community, as well as I wanted to make sure that I had a hand on the wheel. I didn't necessarily have the desire to drive, but I wanted to make sure the direction that the town was going, where I could tighten it up a little bit if it's starting to go too far off, you know, just like running a boat down the river or the channel. You better pay attention to where you're going, because you can be aground or in the wrong spot pretty quickly. That's why I basically ran 10 years ago, was elected. I don't know if you want me to go into what drove me.
Yeah, what brought you into being part of
water
the
quality
community more than just your business?
Mainly my driving force then, and it still is now, and it will be until I die, is our environmental, water quality, and just the whole environmental part of our town. I know how our town used to be. I know how these waters used to be. I didn't read it in a book. I lived it. Mm-hmm. So I have a very vivid memory of the changes, you know, the way it used to be, the way it is today. And I'm just a firm believer, you know, that God gave us these resources to eat from and enjoy for our recreational pleasures. And if somebody doesn't step up to the plate and fight for it, it could easily be gone. So
what have been some of these changes that you've seen over the years?
There's a numerous amount, you know, water quality, you know, with fecal coliform, you know, certain areas starting to close, you know, due to higher levels.
What is that from?
My opinion, in my opinion, since day one, human contributions, you know, failing septic systems, the rising tides. Sea levels are rising, if anybody wants to doubt it. I guarantee you, I've been watching it for 65 years, and it's rising every year. More development, you know, in these critical areas. Everybody wants to live on the water, so do I. That's my office. But we have to be responsible, and we can't, you know, when we start seeing things, you know, DNA, human DNA showing up in our water test, which I pushed from the first year to implement, and we've been doing that. My council has agreed that it's very important. It's one of our most important things that we need to do. So we've spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, documenting facts. When I would go to a meeting 10 years ago and say, this is what I think it is, nobody really believed me. You know, they thought it was birds, they thought it was deer or whatever, and I try to explain to people that when I was a kid, there were horses and cows and deer and more birds, way more wildlife than we actually have today. Wow. So we didn't have water quality problems then. So what is this? You know, so we've got the data. My goal is to have every household within the town of Bluffton on sanitary sewer, so that our river can live, so that our generations to come can enjoy it and feed their families, if they choose to, from the river. Yeah. This waterway, not just here, but around our whole general area, have been the lifeline for people that live here for centuries. You know, that's what they did, farming and fishing, the two major sources of food in this whole country. So to sit back and not pay attention, not to do every preventative measure that could be done, I'd feel like I was not serving my family, much less the friends and the other people that live here. Somebody has to be a voice.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
For the things that can't talk.
Yeah. So the people have talked, and I asked in Facebook groups, and I said, hey, what are your issues? What are your concerns? I would like to interview the candidates, because my methodology is, if I came here in 2019, and the majority of a lot of people that are here came here during COVID, and we haven't had voting in between then. If I don't really know, like, I know of you locally, I just know your businesses, but I don't really know you as a guy. Right. And I was like, well, this is my opportunity to get to know people, and then if we document it, we can help others know. I'm just trying to create an informed public. So I went around and asked a couple Facebook groups, about 4 or 5 actually, you know, what are your issues, concerns? And as I was saying to you before we were warming up here, they're all about the same across all the groups, which makes this very easy. And while there's only about 4 or 5 issues, concerns, or questions, nothing's an easy answer,
Right.
which I respect.
Absolutely.
And also, I'd like to say, keep in mind that anybody running for town council or mayor holds an apolitical seat. There's no Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent. If I'm missing one, correct me, but it's a apolitical seat, correct?
Nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan is
Right.
the correct term I should be using. I'm sorry. These concerns, questions, and topics have no weighted organization. I just kind of took them
Sure.
as they came. The first one that came up was conflict of interest. There's concerns with people who feel that business owners can benefit to being privy to information or being part of being the mayor or being in the town council that can help benefit their pockets. That's a lot of what came up. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we can circumvent the problem? Do you see it as a problem, or is it just really part of how things go?
You know, I understand, and first of all, I'd like to make the point that there's good and bad people in every occupation there is. You know, whether it's lawyers or doctors or policemen or councilmen or mayors or presidents or whatever. You know, there are a certain amount of people who are out there for themselves and only themselves, even in your industry, in the building industry. I know this. I've learned through the years. People like to throw rocks like that. I'm in business. To me, I have never taken anything from the town. The town has never done anything for me. I have no problem going to sleep at night knowing that I don't owe anybody any money. I don't owe anybody any favors. I owe everyone respect, and that's all I expect in return. The people who have that mindset obviously aren't business owners, but in my opinion, it's very important to have the business community involved in government, more so than looking at the bad sides of it, the positive side, because as a business owner, I know the frustrations. I mean, if it's from parking, you know, to road improvements, to the cost of business licenses, to the taxes that we have to pay, where our money goes, how our town is promoted to help promote these businesses. And you know, we're made up of small businesses, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I am one, I've always been one, and I think that this country is better off with small businesses than huge conglomerates. That's just my opinion. So, not saying that doesn't happen in some parts. I'm pretty confident because I pay attention to stuff, and my morals and my standards are set pretty high. If I smell a rat, so to speak, about someone trying to leverage my vote to something that is self-serving, I won't support it. And I don't mind standing up against anyone or anything.
Okay. Another thing that came up was term limits. Do you believe in them? Is there a possibility we feel like, speaking of self-serving, I had that literally written in here, that people can be in control for too long and then it becomes a self-serving direction? Or again, is that just literally why anybody can run to be something and try to stop that?
You know, there's two types of people that get involved in politics. The most common type is people who want to climb that ladder. You know, you start slow, you know, maybe with a small town like Bluffton on council, move up, then you might want to run for county council or the state house or for Congress. You know, there are a lot of people who have that in mind. Then there are people like myself that serve for the right reasons, for my family, for our environment, for our community, for my hometown that I love. There's some of both. You know, I want to think and feel in my heart that there's more good than bad, even though sometimes it doesn't look like that when you're watching the news.
Yeah.
Here, I think we're in pretty good shape. On another note, you know, with the term limits, I see, and sometimes I feel like this about certain people more so than the whole system. It takes a long time to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you could go to school today and get elected next year and still not have a clue what's going on because laws and stuff are constantly changing. and just the way government, and every government entity is a little bit different in their own way, what you can do, what you can say, what you can promote, what you can't, what you can spend money on legally. It's, you know, I went to, graduated from the Municipal Association, started going my first year when I was elected, and I learned a lot. You know, sometimes people think that you can just come out and say, oh, I'm not going to let this guy over here build these 20 houses that he has the right to build. I'm going to stop that. It's not the way it works. People have rights. And until, one thing I did right off the bat, the first thing I learned actually when I was first elected 10 years ago, until the lawyers hash it out and you talk to legal advice about what your idea is, whether it's promoting something or nixing it, you better find out the law, the legal side. If a person owns property, it's in the proper zoning, and they want to build something on there, who is government to tell them that they don't have that right? It's the people's property. You know, if it was mine and I wanted to build a house, been paying taxes on my property for 25, 30 years, and government comes in and says, oh, no, you can't build a house. We don't want to see any more houses around here. Is that what government should be?
Right.
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
And I would never stand for dictatorship type government like that.
I respect that. Something that came up to start here, and we'll niche down, I promise, is infrastructure. There's a lot of infrastructure questions. Town's growing really fast. Have you been here your whole life?
Sure.
I didn't ask this question, but I'll ask it. I didn't ask it to others, but I think you've been here the longest out of everybody that's running.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the growth?
It's a mixed bag. Having been from here, I have to remember the way it was 40 years ago. I could catch shrimp, I could catch oysters, I could catch crabs, you know, my occupation of feeding my family. But there was nobody here to buy it, okay? 20-something years ago when we did the charrette and all about Old Town, what the property owners, the little shops, the small businesses, and just the general public wanted Bluffton to be. Everybody wanted to develop a downtown, you know? I mean, we had a couple of stores and a gas station or two or whatever, but the goal was to build more of an artsy, live, work type community, you know, to draw people, to draw money. So that was the vision, and I went along with that. I liked it too because it helped me here. You know, it brought more customers. I used to have to sell to big chain grocery stores and stuff, and you know, for pennies on the dollar, and wait for 30 days or 45 days to get paid, you know, and I've done that, I've lived it, and now, you know, we are able to sell our products here locally, which is fine for me.
Yeah.
It's less work, less volume, and less risk in business because places go bankrupt. You know, they owe you $20,000. This happened to us.
Yeah.
They go bankrupt. You can't do anything about it. You'll never get your money. I mean, it's if you're a small guy like me. Since COVID, it's been on fire. The growth has allowed my children and a lot of other kids that I know that grew up with my children over the last 35, 40 years to be able to live here and work here. There's jobs here. There's opportunities. If you're in, you know, I have a daughter that's a CPA or with her master's in accounting. I have another daughter who's a trauma nurse that works at Mayoral in Savannah saving lives. Another daughter who manages our restaurant, which it will be her restaurant when we're gone. You know, I don't have to travel all around the country to go see my kids and to have a relationship with them and my grandkids like I would if there was nothing here, if we were still just that little sleepy town.
Yeah.
And it's not just Bluffton. You know, it's McClellanville, it's Mount Pleasant, it's Charleston, it's south of here. Richmond Hill's on fire right now. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they're growing like leaps and bounds. You can't take it back, it's done.
Yeah.
You know, whether you really like it or you don't like it, it's done. What I don't get is people who have only been here 3 or 4 years, they fell in love when they came here with the place. You know, they really liked it. Yes, this is where I want to live. A year passes or 2 years passes, and then all of a sudden they don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, or they want to change it. Instead of throwing rocks at people who were involved and have been working for years or lifetimes like myself to make the most of it, to make it the best it can be for everyone, not just one person. Be thankful, you know, come up. If there's something you don't like, come up with a resolution. I'd love to hear some, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, our schools, our roads, you know, the things, traffic times, the cost of everything.
You are segueing into all my questions.
Yeah.
So you have just touched on all the breakdowns of infrastructure, and I kind of asked you a special question because you've been here so long. So clearly we have land issues, infrastructure issues with traffic, schools being maxed out, labor shortages. I'm going to break it down for each topic here. I'm going to start with housing, especially for affordable housing, as a topic that came up a lot.
Sure.
Just being able to afford to live here. Right. And then there's a definition of affordable housing. I'll read it. Affordable housing is housing that a household can pay for while still having money left over for other necessities like food, transportation, and healthcare. That means what is considered affordable depends on the household's income. Then the federal government says they typically define it as housing as affordable when it consumes no more than 30% of a household's income. With high interest rates right now, high inflation, the supply and demand of our area out of whack, do you think affordable housing by those definitions are possible for this town in the short term or long term?
Yes.
Okay.
This is something that's been in the works for a long time. It's very, very complex, very complicated, and very much regional, if not statewide.
Okay.
You know, it's everywhere. It's not just here.
Yep.
Even though our property values have gone up so much, and especially, you know, with this last reassessment we just got, it's touchy on what monies can be spent for this. We are working on it. We have one project that I think it's only 13 or 14 small homes that we're almost ready for construction. We have numerous conversations going on with developers to try to create a public-private partnership to create some affordable workforce housing. You got to put that workforce in there. Mm-hmm. It's slow-moving, very complicated, but it's something that, looking forward, we have to do. And on the same note as affordable housing or workforce housing, affordable childcare.
Yes.
Is something that I experience personally with my grandchildren. It's crazy, you know, $900 a month, you know, for childcare, so that one of two or family members, mom or dad or somebody, can go to work. Mm-hmm. What if you got 3 kids? You know, that's $2,700, $2,800
another mortgage
a month to go to work. Mm-hmm. That's directly tied to our workforce shortage. Yeah, I know it because I have kids in this situation. Moms can't put 2 or 3 kids in daycare and go to work to make $50,000 or $60,000 a year because their entire check basically comes back to it. Yeah, you know, so they're paying somebody to watch their children so they can go to work, and then when they get back, they give them their paycheck. Yeah, I am working on this. I have no clue how long it's going to take, but it's in my heart, my desire to talk about it and recognize it and see, hopefully, where the town can do something to help offset, just like with affordable housing, to help offset some of these high prices that people have to pay. Yeah. They're staying home instead of going to work. You know, I mean, I'm not blaming them in any way. Yeah. But why go to work if you got to pay the person watching your children your paycheck when you come back? So they're just staying home, which, you know, many of them don't want to. Yeah. So anyway, that's just my view on that. Okay, so I'm going to move it over to roads. Okay. I've lived in lots of parts of the country where there is worse driving, and I've seen some crazy things in my time. Literally living in Orlando on I-4, you'll see some of the wildest accidents there and traffic issues. And, you know, we have congestion here. Sure. I think some folks, and I find it funny, again, this is more about you than me, but my personal interjection is I'm originally from New Jersey. A lot of folks are from the Northeast. They come down, they get away from their towns, and they come here, and they call this bad after what they just escaped. And as you noted earlier, they want to turn it into what they left. So why'd you leave in the first place, right? Right. But
Do you feel that we can balance the growth of homes and the roads at the same time? Do you have a game plan in your head or something you've been working on for the last 10 years?
Well, there's a couple of things that people have to understand. Bluffton doesn't own the roads. The roads are owned by Beaufort County and the state of South Carolina. Bluffton does not collect taxes for road maintenance. You look on your tax bill, there's no road maintenance or none of that.
Yeah.
So first of all, we're not getting paid to take care of the roads to start with. You know what I mean? We don't have those funds or the equipment to do it. That money goes to the state and it goes to the county. All we can do is push and pressure cooperation from them, which we do all the time.
How has their response been?
A lot slower than an independent guy like me likes, along with everything else in government. I'll say that right now. I don't get it sometimes. You know why you have to talk about something for a year before you start doing something?
Right.
But that's the way it works. It's the most irritating thing about being on council is how long it takes to get something done.
Do you feel like that's just par for the course? Or do you feel like it's
system.
something we can keep working on over time to speed it up?
You know, I mean, everybody that knows me knows that I'm the kind of guy that, let's talk about something, let's make a plan, let's get it done so we can do something else.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to have 75 different things talking about with nothing, no feet on the ground, no boots on the ground. The main things that the town can do is improving with the cooperation of DOT, which is like pulling teeth. Intersections, turning lanes, our circles, to make the flow a little easier, red lights in places, to make it safer. Is it gonna make it faster? I'm not sure. I don't think so, really.
Yeah.
But it will be safer for our families and our kids and our older generations older people to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going with all your questions because I have something else that I'll throw in here.
No, hit me with it. We can.
You know, and where you have to go to get what you need is the way I'm going to put it to you.
Yeah.
West Bluffton, same from Buckwalter West, 70% of the residential units, 30% of the business services.
Wow.
East of Buckwalter is just the opposite numbers. So this is something that we've just realized and got, the actual numbers, and I was on it as soon as I heard it. What we have are developers who have development agreements to build doctor's office, bowling alleys, all of these things that every person that lives at Heritage at New Riverside or Mill Creek, wherever, they have to come all the way back into town, so to speak, or at least the Buckwalter area, to go to the dentist, or to go here, to go to the childcare. All of those things, that alone creates a lot more cars on the road. I mean, those services in the original development agreement were designed the way they were so that people didn't have to drive 7 miles, maybe an hour, to get that 7 miles, depending on what time you have to go.
For sure.
So that's one thing that I am pushing hard on, and the rest of council is as well, to even incentivize these businesses to start developing services for the people. I mean, it's everything. It's from pizza places to gas stations to hospitals to eye doctor, dentist,
All the services.
All the services that people need pretty much every day of their life or every few days of their life.
So let's just say you got 170 right there. Is there a game plan for development soon over there?
There's a couple in the making. We can't make them do that.
Of course.
But there's some movement. We're 70-something% built out now, with our development agreements. The developers don't want to do it because the housing market is so strong. Everybody wants to be here. But you build another house and another 5 people move here, or 3, or whatever it may be. Congest the roads, and it just gets worse. It's not totally in control of what the town can do and what we can't do. If everybody stopped building for a year or 2, make everybody happy, right?
Right.
But they still have the right to do it. You still come back to what's legal, what's illegal, and how much should government intervene on people's personal business ventures or rights.
Absolutely. All right. So for first responders, folks believe that we do not have a strong enough law enforcement and first responder presence, and they believe it's linked to pay as well. What are your thoughts on the current state of our first responders and police force, and do we need improvement?
Both yeses. I've always been an advocate for our police department, all law enforcement, county as well. Our first responders, like I say, I've got a daughter who's a trauma nurse. She reminds me every day just how important their jobs are. Better pay, I've been working on, and I've pushed for some improvements. I believe that our officers should make enough money that they can afford to live here. I don't think that we should look at comparisons like what do you get paid in Beaufort, what do you get paid here, or in smaller areas. It costs more to live here than most places. They have to be compensated. The way I explain it to the rest of council to make my point, if you take two police officers that's making in the 40s, you know, especially starting out, which that's higher now, throw in a couple of kids, they're almost in the poverty level. Our own people that we depend on to protect our families and our kids and our businesses and property.
I agree.
I've been very open and loud about that.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, that's all I can throw my weight around, so to speak, on is what the town, our employees.
Yeah.
You know, the county takes care of all the EMS and the fire department and all that. So while I think there's no difference in them,
Yeah.
no need to bite off something I can't chew, you know,
Yeah.
and I believe in exerting my efforts and my energy to things that I can make a difference on, you know, if I have strong feelings about it.
Okay.
So.
Next topic would be schools. It was honestly the hottest topic and the most brought up topic of everybody's responses. They're maxed out. Teachers aren't chomping at the bit to come to the schools based off the disparity of student volume and pay. We clearly need help in this area. What do you think the answer is to getting the balance of schools in the right districts and attracting more teachers, bus drivers, and other supporting staff, making the pay competitive?
I had a sister that taught for 28 years. Teachers are like family to me. It's a job, if you've never tried to do it before, that they do it for the outcome, not the pay, so to speak, but they still have to be able to live. They have to be able to raise their own children and pay their daycare or pay their schools, you know, college funds, whatever area they're in, to have more money, just like we were talking about with the police force. Teachers, police officers, first responders are as underpaid as any other industry that I could say, with the exception of the guys out here pushing the lawnmowers and trimming the grass and cutting the trees and raking the yards and doing all the, you know, I'm talking about our town employees. They need more too, because I'm an outside guy. I work in the elements. And there's a difference when you work in the elements than there is when you have an inside office job.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
And I have a soft part in my heart, because when I see an officer out there in pouring down rain, directing traffic, trying to work an accident to keep us safe or our families safe, that's a big thing, you know.
Yeah.
It might be 35 degrees, sleeting, whatever. It could be 100 degrees and pouring down heat, and he's in all his gear. You know, that takes more out of a person.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to be a stronger person to do it and withstand the elements. Just, you know, like fishing. I think those, along with our grounds workers and stuff, get taken for granted too much. And I totally support better pay, better conditions, and more than anything, more appreciation for them.
Yeah.
Because they could probably find something easier to do.
So how do we solve the problem? Where does money need to come from taxes? Do taxes need to increase? Do things need to get cut back? Like, how do you actually get the funds to attract those better teachers and more of them?
You know, it's our kids, you know. And for the ones that don't have kids in the school system, somebody paid for yours. You know, as we were growing up, from the first grade on, somebody, whether it was our parents or somebody else's parents or whatever, somebody paid the teachers and built the schools. So it's our job. You know, do I want taxes going up? No. But do I want safety and a better education for our children? Yes. You know, with our situation where residential, your primary residence, where you don't pay school taxes, to me that's a problem. You know, and many people don't understand that your primary dwelling, your homestead, you don't contribute to the schools. You might have 7 kids in school, but you're not paying any taxes for them.
Right.
It's the secondary property owners, it's the businesses, and then it's, you know, naturally your recreational vehicles or your boats and cars and trucks and stuff like that. That's where the money comes from.
Right.
So that's a major issue. You know, we have this bond referendum coming up, you know, on this ballot in a couple of weeks, and how could anybody with a heart that remembers when they were little and they needed to go to school or needed to be taken care of say, oh no, I'm not going to support this. It's going to help young people, it's going to help our teachers who definitely work because they love kids, not because they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
To me, it's obvious that's what we need to do.
Okay.
And that's not going to fix everything, you know, but
To start.
do something. If you can't hit a home run, get on base with a single.
That's right.
You know?
So to tie into something you just said, you know, another issue that came up to segue into it was the donut holes, and people saying, well, some people, you know, can't vote, but they're affected by the things that happen in Bluffton. Other people look at it the reverse and say, well, you're using all of our roads and all these things and you're not paying taxes.
Right.
And I know they're not massively abundant, but do you feel like fixing any of the topics we just talked about in terms of infrastructure, that removing those donut holes, changing annexation laws would benefit?
I'm not sure that annexation laws need to be changed. What people don't understand is it is against state law for a municipality to go out and solicit annexation. The annexation has to come from the people who own the property. They come to the town and ask to be a part of the town to start the process. Then the negotiations can start.
Right.
The town doesn't go out and try to get people to move into the town.
Gotcha.
If you got me.
I do.
So anyone, you know, any of there's some developments around, like you're saying, that if those people want to be in the town, I'm quite certain we would welcome them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm only one man, one vote. But that's not why the town's not the reason that there are donut holes. It's those people, which your taxes are $600 more a year on average if you're a part of the town, to get police protection and garbage and recycling for a year.
Yeah.
$650 on a $375,000 home. So do the numbers. You know, I mean, it's residential units in the town of Bluffton is not enough to make this town run.
Yeah.
We can't buy property and preserve property and build parks and upgrades and maintenance on what we already have without revenue. And the revenue is for the operation part of the town of Bluffton does not come from the residents on their property taxes.
Yeah.
It's the businesses, it's the commercial business licenses and all the things that I was saying. It's easy when you look at it. I know with this reassessment and all a couple of years ago, the average home was valued at like $375,000. I'm sure it's more than that now.
Yeah.
$650 a year is what the town of Bluffton charges you for that house. To pick up your trash every week and your recycling every other week, and to pay for 60 police officers to be at your beck and call when you need help and to protect you and your family.
Yeah.
So that's factual.
Okay. So you feel like we could increase that? Is that what you're getting at a little bit? It could be increased to help based off of what you're saying, and then maybe we get the better teachers, the better police officers?
You know, I'm not a fan of raising taxes. I never
Nor
have
am I
been.
a fan of paying more.
I never have been. I paid
Yeah.
my share.
Yep.
More inclined to say that smarter spending, you know, I don't want to not be able to buy a piece of property and prevent 30 homes from being built. where we could build a playground or a park or utilize something for forever,
Right.
protect it and preserve it. The money has to come from somewhere, whether it be a sales tax. I'm more inclined to support a penny sales tax with a sunset and a designated project, so to speak, than just overall raising the millage.
Okay.
But I'm different. I might not get support from everyone on things like that, but that's
Fair
the way
enough.
I feel.
Yeah. No segue here on this one, but it was an outlier in something that popped up in the concerns and comments, and I felt like it was a really important one. It was drugs. Specifically, everything seems to be getting laced with fentanyl. Nothing is just what it was anymore, whether it's legal or not, whether it's not pure anymore. Even some of the stuff that people thought were safer things to do, you can die from it now. I personally feel like it's a weapon being used against us as a country. And a born and raised local woman spoke up in one of the groups who was a drug user. She's nearly half a decade clean and is very active in the rehab community. And I'll quote her here. She says, "It's really hard for someone to get in the doors of detox and treatment here in the Low Country without driving 2+ hours. And this issue is not slowing down." She says, "The coroner's office has just seen a massive spike since June. I don't have those stats, but let's assume that's true for the sake of this conversation." And I'm going to paraphrase her question. How can you help gap the road to recovery of drug addiction and alcohol? She touched on offering more Narcan training and help bring resources to light that people don't know exist, and help the community to understand it shouldn't be something that's in the dark and make it more of a positive thing to talk about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about the seriousness of it, and it really saddens me to see this happening, because I've known some so-called associates or friends, that have succumbed to it. They're not here anymore.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, because fortunately, thank God, I've always been strong enough to be able to say no.
Yeah.
We have to help those people. It's a sickness. It's just like diabetes or heart condition or anything else. There has to be help. We have made, and it was actually led more so by Bridget, the mental health part of it, because it's all part of mental health. Addiction is mental health as well.
Yeah.
We talk about it often and trying to implement some assistance as far as mentors to talk to some of these people, and a lot of times it's too late.
Yeah.
But we have a part of our police force that does that, that's trained. I'm all open-minded and open-hearted for anything we can do to come up here and say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do if I'm elected mayor. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So.
And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but we were talking about spending. I put in here, and I'm asking you because I phrased it to enough people I'm interviewing so far, but if you had, like, whether it was one or your top three, do you have areas where you firmly believe we should be spending more in or decreasing?
Spending more to make sure that our police force and our ground workers and our employees in all, want to be here and can afford to be here.
Yeah.
I think the town should set by example what it takes to live in Bluffton with a kid, or with 2 kids, or with 3 kids, or 4, or 2 in college. All these things. And when I say lead by example, we shouldn't have anybody living in the poverty that works for the town of Bluffton. We don't have any jobs that should not pay enough for our people to live here. I totally support, our employees, helping them in any way we can. And I also am a big advocate and even stronger every day of buying and preserving property. Like I said, we're 70-something% built out with our residential developments. Any place that makes a little bit of sense that we could buy to make a little park, even if it's 1 acre.
Yeah.
In an area that has to drive 5 miles to go to a park or a playground. Buy it. Not only buying the property, but take the RDUs off the books. The residential development units. We know what was done wrong then, because it was allowed for people to build too dense. That's what the residents even say, even though they're in there, bought a house in a community. I hear it all the time. It's like, feel like, I can't even holler at somebody without my neighbor looking to see
I just
what's
moved into a
going
new
on.
neighborhood, and like that was the move I felt like. I'm like, man, my
Yes.
neighbors are right here.
Yes. So it was allowed, and when these agreements were made years ago. But like Fred says sometimes, Fred Hamilton, he said, now that we know better, we can do better.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm always open for suggestions of remedies. I would love to see more involvement in town council. Nobody comes except Skip Hoagland, just come in there and put on a big show. Well, come and make some comments, come up with some solutions, some ideas. Help me do a better job. Don't just say, oh, this is terrible. When are you going to fix it? How do I fix it? Help me figure out a way, or come up with.
So you believe a better community presence at all these meetings is going to help things immensely?
Absolutely.
How do you think we can get more people to those? That's a question I think of all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if people take the time to complain about things, why not offer their assistance and solutions?
Yeah.
Come to town council, call, email, do something, just make my job easier. Help me make things better for you.
Right.
I can't do everything on my own. Council can't come up with every little thing on their own. Staff can't. Let's hear from the people with some, people that care about this place like I do, and they want to live here for the rest of their life or for the extended time.
Yeah.
Let's work together and make it better. If we can make it better, that's all I live for.
And I don't know the answer, and I'm truly asking here. Are the meetings is there a Zoom version or a place where people could chime in if they came to a digital forum?
Well, you can't chime in as far as it's televised on the county channel. So anybody can watch the meeting.
Right.
To make a comment, you have to come. You can email a comment and it'll be looked at, but it won't be read the night of.
Yeah.
Coming in and voicing their opinion, on.
So right now, you still need to have a physical presence.
Yeah.
Do you feel like maybe changing that could help the input? I'm just trying to.
Well, it's. I haven't really thought about that. Back when we were during COVID, everything was Zoom. It's kind of hard. And our policy now, which I'm going to look at, our policy is we don't address questions, or when you come up for 3 minutes and you express your likes, dislikes, or whatever, your opinion. And I love to listen to people's opinions.
Yeah.
We get back to you, on what you're. That's why we have staff. That's why we have good staff. We talk about it and get back. We don't open the arena for debates during a council meeting because we have very important business to go through, and it takes long enough, without extended time. There's no limit on how many people can come. We ask that, if you got 100 people come in there to say the same thing, just ditto, once the message is expressed. But, I'm going to look at some of that and see how we can make it where we do have more participation from the people. It's just like voting. Go vote.
Absolutely.
10% of our, 10% turnout is
Is
kind of
that what's expected?
disheartening sometimes. I don't know about this one.
Okay.
But, 10, 12, 14% of the people are the only ones that take the time out to go and vote.
Yeah.
And vote for somebody.
Exactly.
If you don't vote for me, don't vote for me.
Well, that's why I'm doing this.
Exercise, your right to be heard and do your research, get involved a little bit. Think about, look at your candidates, see who brings the most to the table, and try to get the most qualified person in these positions so that we can get more done.
Absolutely. Now, those were the questions and issues for you before we close out. What is your platform? What are the core values and things you're running on, just so folks can know?
Well, I kind of said it at the beginning. This is home. This is where I'm planning on dying. My kids are here. My family's here. Their friends, hundreds. You don't live in a place for as long as I have without knowing a lot of people and having relationships with, young, old, young that used to be young that are now 40.
Yeah.
And, there's a wide array of people that I'm in touch with. I'm in touch with people that come here for the first time, that, come down here because people love this water, this old place, because you don't go anywhere and see this anymore. They've all been replaced with condos and marinas.
Yeah.
So preserving our past and our culture, our history, is really important, so that we don't just turn into someplace Bluffton.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't have to read about the history of Bluffton because I've been here so long. I lived it and I feel it, and it's different when you do that.
Yeah.
So, it makes your heart a little more understanding, and more willing to. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen to what people say. Learn from people. I learn more from my children than I've ever learned on my own. But that's because I listen to them.
Yeah.
And I try to understand and put myself in their position. And not that I always agree.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm hoping
I'm
some
in
folks
touch.
are going to do that had these issues, concerns, and they can
Absolutely.
listen and learn and maybe see it from a different viewpoint, because the more we can understand each other on different levels, the further we're going to get as a community.
Right. And there's no perfect place in this world.
No.
There's no mayor that's perfect. Mm-hmm. There's no one doing what you're doing perfect. Mm-hmm. There's not all plumbers are perfect.
Nope.
So understanding that is very important. Use energy in a positive way. You don't like something, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's opinion has a story. There's a story behind every opinion, because something made this person, me, you, or whoever it may be, feel that way. If you don't like the water, or you don't like this, or you don't like that, more than likely somewhere in your lifespan, something has happened to make you feel like that.
Yeah.
So I respect that. I respect the story for the opinion.
Absolutely. Any final words for the folks?
No, I will say that this running for mayor was not in my long-term plan. I was somewhat shocked that Lisa was not just tired of it. She's put in her 20 years. So I feel like we have so many things. Like I said, we got $28 million in CIPs going on right now.
What's a CIP?
Capital improvement projects. Okay. From the $15 million park at New Riverside.
Yeah.
Sewer projects all over the place. Park improvements, land acquisitions, just a lot of stuff. And every one of them is very vital and very important for the future, cool, in my opinion. And my pet peeve of protecting the river and stuff is, I'm not going to quit until I feel sure that it's accomplished and it's safe.
And you got to keep going after that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
So, I don't care about being mayor for 20 years or any of that stuff, but I don't think there's another person that has the local knowledge of where we came from and who we were to protect our identity and to grow smart and, protect the things that are so important to people that have been here more than just a year or two.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, Larry, I truly appreciate
pleasure.
your time. It's been a
Okay,
great
bud.
time. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you get out and vote. You can vote right now. Early voting has started. Voting is on November 7th. Again, special thanks to the Greater Bluffton Chamber of Commerce. In full transparency, I'm on the board, but it was still a big ask for me to reach out and say, hey, is there any way we can partner up to get this out to the people? So there's a lot of great businesses that are part of the chamber, and we're going to send this to them. And I implore you to send this to your friends and family as well. And please, let's beat those small figures, he said, the 10 to 15% that are going to get out and vote. Let's get more folks out and voting. It's important that we vote local first. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.